A. What's up, world? This is another episode of Chatting with a Natty. Boo, 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 boo. I usually do this at home, but circumstances had me traveling, so I had to find a place with very good. And as soon as my guest hops on, we will jump into it. What's up?
Oh man, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good man, good man.
You said what part of the country are you in?
Winnipeg,
Winnipeg. Where is that?
Manitoba,
Where?
Manitoba.
Is
You
that
ever
a
heard of that?
state? No.
It's a province, Canada.
Okay. And what time zone are you in?
Central Standard Time.
Okay. All right. Winnipeg, and then you said some word that I've never heard before.
Manitoba.
Manitoba.
Yeah,
Cool. How's it going?
good man, good man. I'm just chilling. Just got back from the gym not too long ago. Just showered and ate, and now I'm ready to get going, chatting with you, bro.
Absolutely. Are you prepping for a show? You look pretty lean right now.
No, I just finished a show like a month and a half ago. I got back from an injury. Started in March, and in July or June, I competed in a show. Just wanted to see if I could do it. And it was a bit of a rough year, so it's just kind of it meant a lot to me stepping on stage and just knowing I could still do it because I didn't even know if I could bodybuild again. I had a massive tear in my leg, and yeah, so it was like a year and 3 months I was off of the gym. Yeah, right now I'm very lean. I'm like 170, and yeah, like pretty much still shredded. I'm eating like 3,500 calories, and I'm bumping up to 3,800 tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
3,800 and lean, huh?
yeah,
That's
feels good.
amazing.
Feels good.
Yeah, those are my dreams.
How much you?
Oh my God. Well, all right. So not to go into a whole thing because this wasn't the intention, but I guess it should be openly transparent about the whole thing. I'm kind of going with this new approach. So like I'm sure you have some familiarity with like the golden era, the times of Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Yeah.
Sergeant Brand and all that stuff, right? Well, my idea, since I'm looking at this from a longevity perspective, I'm going to be in the sport for a very long time, probably multiple decades. And with this being year two of the journey, I actually am thinking of kind of going with intuition and seeing what results I can get off of that. So to answer your question, I am on a cut right now. I'm aiming to cut down to like 8 to 9% body fat just to get to single digit body fat. And I want to kind of document the process without tracking the calories to see
Okay.
if I can do it in a intuitive way.
Yeah, it's more healthy on your mindset doing it that way. It's not as stressful, and stress is the biggest thing when you're doing that, right? It's hard to stay consistent. I mean, like you're a dad, right? And you're doing all this stuff with the Natty King, and I'm sure you're hella busy, bro. How do you keep on track? You got 3 full-time jobs, basically, right?
Yeah, no, I mean you're definitely touching onto it, and it's like it feels a little uncomfortable to say, but all right. So I'm 33, and as I continue to immerse myself in the natural bodybuilding community, I'm learning that a natty's peak is really in their 40s. Like the world champions are really getting crowned at around age 38 to 45 ish, right? Then you've got like the outliers. Like I met with one athlete who competes in OCB. He goes by Marshall Johnson. He's 64 and he just placed
Yeah,
second or third at the OCB Yorton Cup, which is like the biggest
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
competition within that federation. He's 64. So that's just something to keep in mind. With that being said, I know that with everything that's gone so far as the project is concerned, and like you kind of already hit the nail on the head, my dream, my vision is to recruit people to be in charge of like all the stuff that I don't need to be in charge of. So it's like, let's say 5 years down the line, we've already had one season of the Natty King come and go. We've crowned the Natty King for the first time. I've got millions of dollars in the bank. I'm hiring people to like be my nutritionist, to be my movement person to make sure that I'm stretching and working on my mobility. I'm just looking to optimize as many different aspects of my life that so I don't have to focus on it consciously.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you do have to start micromanaging and giving those tasks to other people, especially when you start getting into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
And you have too much stuff to do in one day, so you gotta start having those people to hand off those duties to.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think the way that I've gotten this far in life is by shirking tasks that I don't want to do and focusing on the things that I do want to do. So, like whatever brand I've been able to create on social media, whatever presence that appears to, um, all I've done is the stuff that I want to do. I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. So the way I see it, let's get enough resources so we can properly distribute it to people who want to do the things I have no interest in doing and really optimize this whole process of life.
Yeah, seems like a good idea. I like that, bro.
Yeah. I like it. We just got to make some money though.
Yeah, that's the first part.
But that's why we're here. Speaking of which, so I would love to talk to you about all right, so you told me that you're a gamer and a anime enthusiast.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's go over some favorites. Favorite games, favorite animes.
Okay, favorite games. Destiny. You know Destiny? I played that a lot.
Man, I've never played it. I've heard good things.
That's probably my one of my top five. I was without naming any order. Um, Destiny, probably Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring for sure, GTA maybe, and then maybe I don't know. I played COD a lot. Hell, like all probably all the CODs growing up
Yeah,
as a kid.
that's successful for sure, for sure.
um,
Okay.
and then animes. Um, I really fuck with Demon Slayer and their the style is really new. I really like it. Naruto, definitely probably Shippuden specifically.
Classic.
I'm just finishing a Boruto actually. Um, Jujutsu Kaisen, that's a goated one.
Classic.
Uh, I didn't finish it, but like it's good. It's just too long. One Piece. Uh,
Yeah. It's not even over yet.
uh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then JoJo, that's a good one. I love that one.
Okay. Okay. What about comic books? Are you a fan of superheroes?
Honestly, not much comic books.
Okay.
But superheroes, I love Marvel and not much DC, but I usually watch like almost all the Marvel movies up till like
Okay.
Endgame.
Got it. Okay. This is great. This is great. Real quick spiel as to where and excuse the I got a van in front of me.
That's all good.
um Real quick spiel as to like where my motivations come from as far as like this whole production project.
Yeah.
When I was like, I don't know, 15, I would go into like a Barnes and Noble or Borders. Are you familiar with either of those bookstores?
Barnes and Nobles, I do know. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool, cool. So I would go into a Barnes and Noble at around age 15, 16, and I'd walk myself over to like the manga and the comic book sections, and I'd pick up some books and I'd look around, and that area of the bookstore, or even if you walk into a comic book store where like the sole purpose is to sell comics,
Yeah.
and the clientele always looked a very certain way, which was overweight, out of shape, and just nothing like the characters that they're picking up the comic books or the mangas of.
Mm.
So it's like if you're reading a Superman book and on the cover of the Superman comic book is this like, larger than life superhero in Superman, and he's got like muscles for days. He looks heroic, majestic, like built from a Greek statue, but the person reading it is overweight, looks like they haven't stepped foot in the gym perhaps ever in their life, right?
All
And you
right.
could apply that to like any other like comic book or manga. And even at that age, fast forward, I'm 33 now. Even at that age, I always ask the question, it's like, okay, why are the clientele of these fantasy stories, of these like super heroic, stories, why do the clientele look nothing like the heroes? And then you get to age 33 where, we're 16, 17 years in the future. And now we're finally at the point where I'm running into bodybuilders, athletes who happen to love anime, superheroes, and other nerdy stuff that actually displays peak physical potential and they're actually aiming to achieve that within their own lives. And like that's kind of where my passion came from. And what I want to do is finalize that bridge between fantasy and fiction and real life, where right now there's this boom in popularity within like the natural community where we're recognizing that we want to look like these cool characters, like the
Uh,
Togi from Jujutsu Kaisen. He's like a really
bro,
big deal.
Baki, bro,
Yes, yes, Baki,
that's another good one.
perfect example. And now we have people who actually are using these characters: Baki, Pickle, Togi, Goku, Superman. Like we have these people who are actually aiming to look like those individuals in real life. And the way I see it, let's just tell these stories, only present it as if it's an anime or fictional story.
I get that. Like, see,
Yeah,
anime. I was thinking about this. Like, anime is easy enough to do, right? Like, you can easily tell a story, someone's story through bodybuilding, or take it somewhere else, through fantasy and whatnot. Um, I wanted to ask about like the games. How do you plan to, you know, turn it into a game? Like, are you just involving, people that are in the Natty King through the Nattyverse and just putting them into these games? Do they have, any sort of relevance to bodybuilding, or what's your whole plan with all that? Do you have anything on?
yeah. So, and when you say games, you mean like video game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that one's a little complicated, and I'm gonna have to kind of give you the outcast as to like what the sequence of events are supposed to look like from now until I don't know 10 years from now. Okay, and I'll try to be as concise as possible. The first big project to be launched is The Natty King, which
Mm.
is a cinematic docu-series, most likely going to end up on Netflix. We're aiming to get the green light within the next 2 years with the intention of going into production in 2028. That cinematic docu-series is going to follow the lives of 30 natural bodybuilders as they have all been handpicked by myself and whatever team that gets assembled between now and production. And they're prepping for the tournament, $1 million cash prize, and we're putting the camera on them as they go through the prep. The thing is that the actual prep and the way that we would capture each episode, there are elements of fictional themes, or there's fictional scenes that are happening embedded throughout the entire show. Meaning that, like, let's say you were a cast member and you were on the Natty team roster, right? A typical day for you might be, well, let's just ask you, what would a typical day in the life of Eric look like?
Typical day. Get up, do as little as possible in the morning. I prep my lunch the night before, straight to work, and then straight to the gym after work. Then it's usually groceries, some type of cooking, some type of chore, and then it's usually 9 p.m. And then I get to do something for 2 hours.
Love that. Love that. What do you do for work?
I work in an office.
Okay,
Uh,
all right. That's perfect. Okay, so what we would do if, let's say, you were a member of the Natty team and like you're one of the 30 and the camera is now following you for, let's say, a day in the life as you're prepping for the show, we would insert actors around your activities so that you would interact with them unknowingly, not knowing if they're real or fake, and they would actually build the story around you.
okay, that's
So
cool.
yeah, yeah. So between now and like if we're aiming to go into production in 2028, my team of writers, along with myself, would be crafting your specific episode that would be tailored to your brand and your identity as to how you actually recognize yourself within the sport of bodybuilding and the world at large.
Okay,
So
that's
the
awesome.
types of interactions that you would be having with the actors would be intended to cement who you are to the public.
That's honestly a great way to do it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
capture real life moments, and that's cool.
Yeah. So from there, keeping that in mind, we will be doing that for 30 athletes over the course of a 15 episode season.
Mm.
Then we will go straight into the actual tournament called the King of Naturals tournament, which is basically a bodybuilding competition. We're aiming for like the same spectacle of the Mr. Olympia.
Mm.
$1 million cash prize, crowning of the Natty King, which is unprecedented. Once it happens, the entire landscape of the fitness industry has now changed because history has been made and the greatest cash prize and title in bodybuilding belongs to a natural athlete, right?
The
So
Natty
now,
King has some
yeah,
ring to it. Kind
oh yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah. So let's say that happens in 2028, and then we head into 2029. We're on top of the world. Natural bodybuilding is now the thing to be, right? Because of the success of the Natty King cinematic docuseries on Netflix and the $1 million cash prize and news, press release, marketing, yada yada yada, right?
Right.
Okay, so fast forward 2029. From there, I want to go straight into production on a feature-length film called The Natty King, right? Where basically we would do the same year-long prep of the 30 athletes, only we would be showing the fictionalized version of what was happening. So if the cinematic docuseries was very grounded in like their daily lives, and yes, they're interacting with like regular people as they go to the grocery store, they go to work, and they're having these dialogue moments. The feature-length film is intended to show the kayfabe version or like the exaggerated version of what that prep looks like for all the athletes. Only it's a lot more. I want to use the word homogenized, but basically, you've seen Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
The idea for the Natty King feature length film is to create a emotionally resonating moment by the end of the film so that when the Natty King gets crowned, we have a definitive understanding of what this means to the industry and to the world at large. Because the intention is to imply that by crowning the Natty King, it becomes a catalyst for the events of the next, I don't know, several decades that lead to the world achieving world peace, but
Right.
it cannot happen unless the Natty King gets crowned. That's something that my character, because this is a story, that's something that my character knows intrinsically, and it's something that other characters, as the story progresses, become aware of through their supernatural experiences that they get exposed to as they continue to prep for the show. So we want to suggest that as you become a part of the Natty King and the Natty cinematic universe, there is a magical element to being attached to this project, and you have experiences that are slightly outside of the normal, where you start realizing how special and how important this is.
Right.
Yeah. So, keeping that in mind, yeah, thank you. You're following, so I'm really happy about that. So from there, feature length film. Then we would go into an anime, which is intended to take place 20 years after the first Natty King crowning. That anime, like that's actually what I would like to talk to you most about. But let's say, all right, so that goes, anime gets launched 20 years in the future,
Mm.
and then from there, that's where the video game would come into play.
Okay.
So the video game would feature characters from the anime that are 20 years in the future.
Oh, okay. 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 That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Now you can do, whatever you want. Like, how did they evolve over time? What happened? Okay. That's cool, bro.
Yes, yes. And very similar to, because you mentioned Baki and you've watched it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
So,
that's also like
yeah,
competing for top five for sure.
yes, yes. Okay. So, and most athletes, when I talk to them about the entire Natty cinematic universe, most people express the most amount of interest in the actual anime. People like anime. I love anime. Personally, I love anime. To me, it's all just one big story, and it's told in different formats. But the format that most people resonate with is the anime. I'm totally excited about it as well. But the reason why is because by setting it 20 years in the future, we have the opportunity to define what is actually going to happen in those 20 years. And we
Right.
want to kind of play it as closely as possible without losing an opportunity to like make it epic and super fun and exciting. But we want to play it as closely as possible to like the sequence of events that regular life will look like.
Right. Because you don't want to leave, the natural, right? So there's both sides of it. But
Yes. Yes.
showing, how hard it is to, do this as an Natty and, how much you got to really dedicate your life to this to be the best. It's a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. And all the content is intended to be edutainment, which is education and entertainment.
Mm.
Me, my specialty comes from entertainment. I'm a storyteller at the end of the day, but we would be inserting educational elements throughout all content, throughout the cinematic docuseries, throughout maybe not so much the feature-length film. That's probably going to
Yeah.
be like more spectacle. But when we
Probably.
get to the anime, we'll be able to insert moments in each episode focusing on like proper training, proper nutrition, while also adding elements of like, fantastical nature.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you. So, let's talk about the anime for a second because I want to bounce some ideas off of you
Okay.
since you're a fan of anime. Um, what I'm thinking is that you know how like the enhanced side of the sport they call it going over to the dark side,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's really no appeal as of now for staying on the light side beyond just. Well, I'll ask you the question: Why are you a natural athlete?
I see no point in, taking the steroids, and I've never liked the look of, like, the size of how big, you get. And being a diabetic, it'd be extra dangerous. It is just, it'd be dumb for me to take it.
We have are you familiar with Zach Moore?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've been following for a while. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, he's super cool. I met him at the beginning of this year, I believe. He's a super cool dude. Okay, so you don't see a point, and it endangers your life, which are
Yeah.
two very good reasons. That's fair. But beyond that, okay, so if we were just to talk about like the appeal of going over to the dark side, what would that? How would you describe that appeal of taking steroids?
Um, it's the appeal of wanting to get bigger, wanting to achieve that perfection. You can never get big enough. You'll never achieve, you know, perfect. You'll never feel like I am truly, well, you might, but you could always get bigger. That's the whole point. And so there's something to push you farther and help you get there. The shortcut can help you.
Yes, I agree. Now that actually comes a different question. I hope to not veer too far off, but like you said, you're already familiar with the Golden Era, and you're familiar with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Are you familiar with Frank Zane?
No, I've heard the name, but not too familiar with him.
Frank Zane was a contemporary of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was competing against him at the same time. When Arnold retired, I can't remember the year that he retired, but he retired for a couple years. During that time, Frank Zane won three times. He became the Mr. Olympia three times after Arnold Schwarzenegger retired. And then Arnold came back when his movie Conan was coming out. And for press and for visibility, he decided to compete in the Mr. Olympia. Apparently, his condition was shit. It wasn't very good, but since he was already kind of the poster boy for the sport of bodybuilding, they gave it to him anyway, even though
I
there were
think I heard about that story actually. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he beat Mike Menser, Chris Dickerson. Apparently, there were multiple people who looked better than Arnold on that specific day since he
Yeah.
wasn't really prepped
I saw
for it.
the Mike Menser comparison. That's what I saw.
Correct. Yeah. All right. So, not like I said, not to go off too far, but Frank Zane, he was actually known as kind of like the father of aesthetics within bodybuilding. He was typically always the smallest person on stage of a Mr. Olympia competition. Yet he won three times because instead of prioritizing size and mass, he was prioritizing lines, shape,
Hmm.
symmetry, aesthetics, and really deep cuts. So, like,
Yeah.
he was typically the most conditioned and he had the best aesthetics, right? So, the what if, the hypothetical that I like to play out is if Arnold Schwarzenegger's personality was in Frank Zane's body, and Frank Zane's personality was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's body, who would have been the face of bodybuilding during that era?
Hmm.
It's a fun hypothetical, and
That's
it's
right.
yeah, it's one that I'm looking to answer within my career because my intention is definitely to go down in history as the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time. Granted, it's a subjective sport, so as long as it's an argument, then I will have won. But I know that like my intention is not to be the biggest athlete on stage ever. I'm never trying to be the biggest. Instead, I would like to follow in the same footsteps of Frank Zane and prioritize lines, shape, symmetry, and aesthetics, and see if we can actually do something while marrying it with personality and movie star and the same kind of blueprint that Arnold did. We'll be using that only a different physique, if that makes sense.
No, and like shape is important. You could be, you know, as big as you want, and if you have bad shape, you don't have a small V or small waist. You don't have that V taper. You don't have, all that shape in your arm, like the detail. That's you're not gonna win. You need to be able to pose and
Yeah,
hit those and be able to show off those tiny details. So
yeah. So the thing is, and like I get it, bodybuilding is called bodybuilding. So like the whole intention of bodybuilding is to get bigger. Like it just
yeah,
that's just what makes sense. The only thing is that like I feel that Arnold kind of set the tone for what athletes who pursue the sport are supposed to go after. And the point that I'm aiming to make is that if Frank Zane was selected as, like, let's say, the poster child for what bodybuilding is supposed to look like, and he was typically the smallest guy on stage, yet he won 3 times. If he was winning over Arnold, let's say the judges liked him more, or Joe Weider liked him more, would the landscape of bodybuilding still be prioritizing size, or would they be prioritizing something else? Would they be going after something more aligned with aesthetics?
right.
You know?
He got the shine. He got chosen, and he's the one who's gonna get all the press, right? And it's not. Arnold is heavily involved. You got the Arnold classics, right? And what would it be?
Yeah.
The Zane classics?
Arnold was driven. He was very motivated to for greatness. I think Frank Zane. I actually reached out to him to speak, and he got back to me. He's in his silver ages, so he couldn't be bothered. But respect to him for getting back to me. But I would say that Arnold was always motivated, and he always wanted to experience greatness in the various industries and careers that he pursued throughout his life. And as a result, he became the person that he is. And now the majority of bodybuilders are following after that greatness without taking into account his personality and his charisma and his charm and everything else that he brought to the stage beyond just his massive physique. You
Right.
know?
That's yeah. Your presence on the stage matters. You know, do you draw the judge's attention? Do they want to look at you?
Yes.
It's really a glorified beauty pageant at the end of the day.
And that's actually something I want to play with further. I really want to play with that further, which is not to suggest that we are selecting the Natty King off of, things beyond just their physique. But I almost want to imply that we are selecting the Natty King off of more than just the physique. Because if we're using the same blueprint, we're looking to create a star within the sport of natural bodybuilding in the
Right.
same way that Arnold became a star within the enhanced side. We can't just we can't ignore everything else beyond just the physique, because otherwise Arnold's just a regular dude. You know, like Arnold brought more to it than just his physique.
They have to be a symbol of the Natty King.
Exactly, exactly. Which is like easier said than done, but that's definitely what we're looking to create. And throughout the entire course of the cinematic docuseries, we will be actually showing how we build those personas into larger than life superstars. Very similar to. Are you familiar with WWE by chance?
Yeah, yeah. I watched that
Okay.
a lot as a kid.
Yeah, yeah. So WWE superstars, they all build personas and stories and rivalries and stuff like that.
Yeah,
We'll be inserting that element into the Natty King series to build a greater level of emotional investment within the athletes and the characters, while also working on like, okay, yes, you're an athlete, yes, you're a bodybuilder, but how can we tell your story better? How can
mm,
we present you to an audience that is compelling and provides a level of emotional resonance when they actually look at your story specifically,
right.
separate from
You
the
do
rest
have
of the
to make
cast?
it a show at the end of the day that people are going to want to watch.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so we're on the same page about that. Going back to what I was saying, so the dark side of the sport, it incentivizes if you take steroids, you'll get bigger, faster, and that's what we all want, and you can never get big enough, right? My counterbalance to that, because like right now, would you agree that there really is no counterbalance really for staying on the light side? If the goal for the dark side is like get as big as you can and get bigger and bigger, the counterbalance for the light side is what?
I'd say mostly health reasons
Health reasons.
for most people.
Okay, so let's stick with that, because I'm in agreement with you. What if within the anime and the feature length film and subtle hints sprinkled throughout the cinematic docuseries, what if we were to suggest that by peaking yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, you have the opportunity to unlock supernatural abilities that are something that you would see straight out of an anime.
I mean, that's a great way to, most animes have some sort of gimmick, some sort of, catch. You got Naruto, you got Chakra, and so yeah, that's a good way to, bring that magical fantasy side into it,
Yes.
while keeping it still natural, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a good way to do it.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like we put an emphasis on all three pursuits of peak optimal functionality. So it's not just physical because like as a bodybuilder, as a natural bodybuilder, our limitation so far is like peaking ourselves physically. We all understand that it's a slower process, but what if we focus on what's happening mentally and spiritually as well as we're going through that prep of, peaking ourselves physically. And it is through that depiction that I would like to imply, specifically spread out over the various different forms of media and content, that we have the opportunity to unlock greater feats of abilities through that pursuit.
And I mean, there's some truth to that. Like, when I first started doing this, like I wasn't the same person for sure. Like I did my 3 months, probably cheated on my diet a couple times, didn't tell my coach, and fast forward to today, I don't, do any cheat meals. I've been on my meal plans for 2 years, 2 years and 3 months now. I plan to just keep going. Uh, I want to get it as big as possible. Probably like 2 years. I plan to try and compete again, and then compete at nationals. Actually, have a physique worth representing on a national stage. Um, and yeah, I don't plan to stop my prep until I am satisfied.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, we're on the same page. And, if we're putting this in the realm of an anime, then that's just a perfect opportunity to just kind of exaggerate what you're describing to greater lengths, which isn't too dissimilar from the way that Baki depicts their characters, where they use a lot of imagination to insinuate that, like, take Baki when he comes to shadowboxing. He's like
Mm.
shadowboxing with like giant praying mantises and things of that nature, right? We would be doing stuff like that within the anime. Only there'd probably be a like a stronger connection between. Uh, well, yeah, that's what I wanted to like kind of flesh out with you. Um, the types of powers that I want to depict, right? So again, flash forward 20 years in the future, advancements in technology are still on the same trend that they're currently in, like right now in
Mm.
2025. So now we're in 2045, let's say.
Yeah.
And at this point in the game, genetic engineering has become a huge fad for the people who have access to it, who have like the means, right?
Mm.
So what I would like to display is the enhanced side of the sport is still around and they're still being pushed. They're still Mr. Olympia.
Mm.
But the face of enhanced bodybuilding is a four-armed man and who just won his first Mr. Olympia. And he's got four arms due to like genetic augmentations and engineering. And like this is the freak show. This is the freak show that like we're all paying to see. Like this four-armed bodybuilder who's like a freak of nature. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm looking at this thing, right?
Mm.
That's the dark side. That's what the dark side will take you to. That's the epitome. Like, okay, you did it. You took the steroids, you got the augmentations, you got the enhancements, and now you're walking around with four arms and you're a freak of nature, and whenever a person sees you, their jaws are dropping. Good job, right? Good job. And then on the light side, the face of the light side of the sport, what kind of powers would we want to see?
That's a tough one. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
how do you say natural but include a power?
right. So I've got some ideas, and they're all grounded in like, 10 years ago before I came to LA, because I've had this plan for 10 years. So they're all grounded in this book called Unlocking Your Super Brain. And basically, the book it suggested the abilities that our brains would have access to if we were able to fully tap into how we kind of sync up with the universe and reality, right? So, what I would like to suggest is that by staying natural, you can unlock hidden areas of your brain to sync up correctly with the universe and kind of bend reality to your will.
Okay.
And it would have to manifest differently for different athletes in order to kind of create specialization. So let's say it's like, for example, telepathy, right? So if you stay natural and you peak yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, you will have the ability to read minds and communicate telepathically, right? Are you with me?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So
Your
let's say,
brain's gone on to another level. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Different, like, because you're peaking yourself
Yeah.
on three different planes, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and through that you unlock these abilities, right?
Hmm.
Something that the enhanced side of the sport does not have access to because they're not peaking themselves naturally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. They're peaking themselves through enhancement and augmentation. So they just don't have that opportunity. You with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the way that let's say if we were to stick with telepathy, and we'd obviously insert different abilities, but if we were to just stick with that, it would have to manifest differently for different athletes. So what I'm keeping in mind, are you familiar with Street Fighter by chance?
No, not really. No.
That's okay. That's a fighting game, but there's a character in there who's like, let's say he's from like Indian descent, right? What I would like to do within like the Natty King, because I want this to be like an international competition where I'm taking athletes from around the world to create inclusivity, and so that audiences can like root for like their favorite person, whether they're representing a place of origin, a country, a profession, a career, anything. Like we
By
want to
doing
have
that,
some.
you're also reaching further too, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, exactly. So let's say we have an Indian bodybuilder athlete in the Natty King anime, right?
Mm.
And it's 20 years in the future, and he has peaked himself physically, mentally, and spiritually, and he has unlocked the ability of telepathy, but it manifests in his communication with snakes. So he is able to mentally communicate with his pet snakes and tell them to do shit,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Keeping it light. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I would also, I
So
would also,
basically, keeping it all like within the mind, kind of.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're already
yeah.
peaking the body physically. Now we're getting onto the mind. We're getting onto the spirit. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Exactly. Okay, okay. So then the stakes would be the dark side of the sport is backed by big pharma companies who are peddling drugs, steroids, and other pharmaceuticals that are just like intended to like keep society like fat and dependent upon drugs and non-natural solutions to like things that can be solved holistically, right? So it's
So they
like
can
big.
get money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about
Like
right.
get as rich as possible, right? But like that's what the enhanced side of the sport is being backed by. Like those are the sponsors, right? So it becomes kind of like a cold war between the dark side of the sport and the light side of the sport. Where the light side of the sport, we represent obviously the holistic approach to everything. We've got like farmers who are, naturally growing organic crops to make sure that like we're eating like the best food possible, but then you've got big pharma who are like aiming to like destroy these farmlands and like inventing like these made up government jurisdictions to prevent like our access to that kind of stuff. And we would be kind of running into those kinds of problems on a daily basis or like an episodic basis to address within different regions of the world.
That's a good idea to keep the show dramatic, keep the show interesting, give some plot to the story,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to work with there. That's a good idea. I like that.
Cool. Okay, all right. And then yeah, I mean, there's legs there because it's like the first season would just focus on the tournament itself and the
Mhm.
athletes who are competing for that tournament. But as it continues to grow, we would actually be able to open up the world and show the actual war that is being waged outside of just the tournament. The tournament would be kind of like an initiation into the actual world that is set within the Natty cinematic universe 20 years in the future. And then once you're initiated, then we kind of just blow up the stage and really get into like the nitty gritty of what's happening behind the scenes so far as like the dark side and the light side.
Nice. It's a good
Cool.
idea.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, great. We're on the same page. So touching base with you, what I'm learning, because like, all right, so let's just take with bodybuilding before I got into the picture, right? The Greatest title to have for a bodybuilder was the Mr. Olympia, right? There can only be one Mr. Olympia per year if we're not really including the different divisions and shit like that, right? So if you're a bodybuilder, right, and you don't win the Mr. Olympia, where's your identity? Like, how do you recognize yourself as a person who is, you know, doing the thing that they want to be doing and getting that feeling of like accomplishment?
Well, at the end of the day, it is nice to win. But the best way to try and look at it is to try and compete against yourself and to beat yourself the last time you stepped on stage. Do you look better? You know, did you do this prep? If you step on stage, like I consider you a winner. You should consider yourself a winner if you could step on stage and look the way you should. It's hard. It's truly hard. One of the hardest sports, and you know, it's truly not for the weak. So yeah,
I agree. I agree. Okay. All right. So it's like you're competing against yourself. You're always looking to improve. That's a great aspect. So, all right. I like that. I like that. Personally, with my level of ambition, I'm always looking to like create. I don't want to be equivalent to the Mr. Olympia in the enhanced side of the sport. I want to blow it out the water, and I'm thinking of like the greatest sports athletes around. So like if we were to take a look at Lionel Messi,
yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo, um, other athletes in different sports, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, right? Like what sets these athletes apart beyond just their winning careers, right? And the question, or like I guess the question that I'm arriving at, or like maybe the hypothetical, is that all right? So Eric, you're in Canada, and you like anime, you like video games, you're a type 1 diabetic?
Yeah.
Okay. So like what if we just focused on this whole concept for me is like specialization, right?
Mm.
Like specializing your journey to make it as specific to like what it is that you're doing and who you are and your identity, making that as specific as possible so that by the time you do actually compete, you're not competing against other people. You know what I mean? Like there's only one Eric
Mm.
in this specific competition. So however wherever you place, that's where you placed, if that makes sense.
That's the thing. Like, try and be the best you. Like, you know, that's all you can really do.
Yeah, yeah. Try and be the best you. And then it would just be a matter of properly identifying who you are. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just play that scenario because like all right, let's say and unfortunately like with the first season we're keeping it very concentrated to I think I already told you this in the DMs, but
Yeah,
we're keeping it concentrated to classic and open
that's probably
um,
the best idea. You know, the probably the
for the first season.
biggest audience you could get for that.
Yeah, yeah. And but I do want to open it up to multiple divisions. I'm getting women athletes who are commenting on my content saying that like you should have a natty queen too, and I
That'd be
100%
a good idea.
agree. Yeah, well, I definitely 100%. It's just that like I want to do things in like scalability. So if the
It's good to
first
take
season has
things one at a time. You
yeah,
know, don't bite off more than you could chew.
exactly, and I always keep that in mind. I always keep that in mind. But with that being said, all right. So let's say you were to be a part of this project, right? The Natty King cinematic universe, and like now you're integrated into the storyline, and you're competing, let's say, in men's physique several years down the line, right? The question I would ask you is like, okay, how would we build your specific identity in relation to like your journey to that stage? You know, like what are the trials, the tribulations, the pitfalls, the internal motivations? What is the internal story that's happening? And you could even refer back to your last show as a frame of reference, and that's probably where we would start and work off of that.
So off my last show, I I looked good. I only did a 3 week prep for it. I walked into the gym one day and my old coach was there and he said, "Damn, you're looking about stage ready." And then I decided to do it. So I got third. So I technically qualified for nationals. No one told me. Um, but I wasn't fully satisfied because I know I didn't give 100%. I know I wasn't dialed in for a full prep. I know I wasn't at the proper size I should be. So that's again like why I'm doing a 2 year prep, why I'm not, messing around, why I'm not taking any days off, why I'm so dialed in is because at the end of the day, if I can't say, you know, I did my absolute best and there's nothing I could have done better, then I can't be happy. So that's, you know, why I'm doing the prep I'm doing now, on a 2.5 year prep already, and don't plan on stopping. Uh,
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And tell me about the injury again. How did that happen?
I was working concrete and bodybuilding, and I was about like 5% body fat, so it was just a recipe for disaster. Didn't have any like trigger moment, but yeah, I had a massive tear in my glute, so I couldn't even like walk at one point. It was like 2 weeks, and then I slowly went from limping to walking to running. Running like was like way later on. It was such a slow crawl. Again, it was a year and 3 months. So I honestly,
Wow.
I wasn't even gonna come back from it.
So did you feel it when it happened?
No, no. Like I woke up one morning and I felt my leg and I felt the big lump of scar tissue and I went, "Oh, that's not good." And I had to go get it checked out. And yeah,
Wow, man.
yeah,
Damn. Okay. All right. All right.
probably the adrenaline just wouldn't feel it right.
And you said that you were at 5% when this happened.
Yeah, I was lean as hell, so injury prone, right?
Was there a competition that you were preparing for?
I was getting ready for one. I was 6 months out, I think, at the time, and I was already 8 months deep into a prep, so I was a bit upset. And then my dog actually passed away that year too. So like it was truly a rough year. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. That when did this happen?
uh, July last year.
July of last year. Okay. All right.
Like,
Yeah.
injury
Again.
happened like 2 years ago, basically now, October 2023.
Okay. Okay. Would you say that bodybuilding is the thing that you're most passionate about?
Oh, absolutely. Like I
Yeah.
dedicate my life to this now. I love it. Like definitely my motivation in life.
Okay. What would be, let's say, fast forward? We'll stick with 5 years. People like to stick with 5 years. Fast forward 5 years. What would you like to have accomplished in the next 5 years?
5 years, I would definitely have liked to competed at my local show. It's a VDC. I want to place overall. I want to at least place top three in nationals. Within 5 years. I mean, it'd be a dream. I don't know how realistic it'd be. If I could, obviously go to Olympia. And in, I mean, 5 years time, obviously that's within timeline of the Natty King. If they start opening up to men's physique division, or I mean, if I start putting out enough size where I might have the proper physique for open or bodybuilding, I could consider that. I would definitely be interested in that. Um, and maybe doing personal training. I've worked with a few friends. Haven't gotten a whole lot of chances to work with a lot of people, but I'm gonna start posting with one of my friends I worked with, and he lost like I don't know 10, 15 pounds, and it was just a whole different person. It was really nice to do, and I think I really want to delve further into that.
Love that. Love that. Okay. What thoughts do you have? This is kind of a broad question, a little broad. But what thoughts do you have on the value of community when it comes to your pursuits and passions?
Like so, the bodybuilding community in terms.
Not even necessarily. Well, okay, all right. So, uh, we'll backpedal for a second. Um, I already said I wanted to be the greatest storyteller of all time, right? Okay. All right. So I figured it out. The formula for the greatest story of all time. Because if you want to be the greatest storyteller of all time, you have to tell the greatest story of all time. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So the greatest story of all time. The formula is the hero's journey, which is like you've seen the hero's journey. It's Harry Potter, it's Star Wars, it's One Piece, it's any story with a main protagonist going through trials and tribulations and reaching the finish line and accomplishing the goal and like the world is saved. Like that's the hero's journey, right? So it's the hero's journey with an emphasis on the friends that we made along the way. That is the formula for the greatest story of all time, and you can see it depicted in various different universes, franchises, and different storylines that I've already kind of described. Harry Potter being a perfect example, Star Wars being another perfect example. Main protagonist makes friends, has a mission, has to save the world, and then he does. And he couldn't have done it without the friends that he made along the way, right?
No, definitely has some truth to that. Like I wouldn't be where I am without the help I had today, without the coaches I've had, without the help I've had. So definitely, there's definitely 100% truth in that.
Okay, so let's touch on that for a second. Okay, so let's say we'll do the hypothetical. Men's physique is happening, and you've been selected to compete for the Natty King equivalent of men's physique division, right? And we're going to put the camera on you. And this is now it's your hero's journey because every person who's a part of the Natty cinematic universe is either a hero or they're a friend of a hero. Okay, or they're like on the dark side of the sport, taking steroids, and like we don't have to talk about them, But they're either a hero or they're a friend of the hero. And with you actually being on the main cast, you are a hero, right? So tell me about your friends. Tell me about the community that has helped you become the hero that you are today.
Well, my last coach, Brett, he's taught me like so much. I really wouldn't be able to do what I do. Doing my own preps now, he was kind of like that missing piece to kind of make things click. Taking the time to not just give me the plans, taking the time to explain what we're doing step by step, and do for the prep for the show. I just did last month. I did my own prep, and then I got him to do to look over my peak week plans, and like he just told me like, "Yep, looks good," and it would just tell me, on the last day that we need to take out a little bit of salt. And then he did my show day plans, and just out of the kindness of his heart, and then if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done that show, and that show meant a lot to me. So like he's truly amazing guy. All the coaches I've had, same experience. They help you become a better person. They help you, build up discipline, become a better person, build more motivation. That's what a coach should do. I got my family members, my sister, my mom, my stepdad, and I don't see too many people at the same gym anymore, but the friends I made along the way at the gym. You know, it's it's a bond. Gym bros. Um, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Do you have any friends who are also actively competing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got a few.
Okay. Okay. Natural or enhanced?
Both.
Okay. Do you see any differences worth noting between your enhanced friends and your natural friends?
In what way?
Anyway, and it could be no. Like you could see like zero difference besides just one looks bigger.
Just generally one's bigger than the other. Oh my God, there's one guy, Brendan. Do you know Brendan Cowan? He's an IFBB pro. He's massive. He's like 285 pounds. He goes to my gym. You can tell but it's honestly cool to see. Like I don't know, I see that, and I have no hate for anyone on steroids. I don't know if you want to do that. I think you should pursue what
Yeah,
you want to do at the end of the day.
yeah,
And like I see anyone bigger. I see anything on Instagram. Like you shouldn't take it. In any negative way. And like you see it, there's so many hate comments you see, but like you just should take it as inspiration to, you know, try and achieve that beast physique, you know?
yeah, yeah. I agree, and I'm in the same camp as you. Like when I originally asked you like why you chose not to take steroids, and you said like you were never really motivated to get bigger. Like there are certain people like myself who like Ronnie Coleman never wanted to look like that guy. Never. There was never a moment where I saw Ronnie Coleman and was like, man, oh man, what do I gotta do? You know, that thought never popped in my head. Instead, it was always Frank Zane, who you should totally look up when this conversation's over. Um, okay, so family, coaches, bodybuilder friends, any romantic partners?
No,
Okay, okay. Let's see. Plans on like, do you want to have a family in the future?
I would ideally.
Okay, ideally. Okay, okay. All right, all right. So let's see, coaches. And you said that you want to start coaching in the future.
Yeah, ideally, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I see. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like a beautiful full circle moment where the coaches who helped you along the way, like your mentors, right? So your journey or arc so far as your bodybuilding career is paying it forward. So it's like you've had multiple mentors along the way, properly coach you, advise you, motivate you, tell you that you can do it, fill you with the confidence that like actually gets you on stage and you see the value that they provided to you. And then as you're now progressing in your career, you have this incredible desire to create that experience for like the next crop of athletes who are coming along, you know, and we'd be able to like kind of tie that knot, introduce flashbacks, moments, yada yada yada. But it's like a full circle. You know, the hero's journey for you would be, and I, you know, however your story turns out is like that's how your story. Like I'm just like a writer. Like I'm not your writer. You know what I'm saying? But like this is what's coming to my brain. It's like you know,
Right. This is
yeah,
all on the spot too. You know, it's
yeah,
just
yeah. Very on the spot, you know. But I want to get better at like on the spot because if you can come up with cool shit on the spot, just imagine what you can come up with when you're not on
it'll
the
make
spot.
you better. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Like a full circle, and it's like it's a beautiful thing. I love cyclical, the cyclical nature of things, especially when that thing is positive, and like what you're describing is a very positive circle. Yeah. Cool. Well, shit, man. I think we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
top, good stuff. I you definitely have a lot of good ideas. Definitely excited to see this Natty King coming up, and definitely look forward to hearing more.
Absolutely, bro. Dude, this was I don't know about you, but this was incredibly beneficial to me. So I appreciate your time.
No problem at all, man. Hey, if you wanna, chat more or even just hit me up in the DM, you could always do that, bro, for sure.
I certainly will, bro. All
All right, kid. Take care, bro. I'll let you get to it.
right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
All
peace.
right, peace.